Hello everyone, this is Lori with LM's Crafty Creations, and I am so excited to share a new project with you and a tutorial. So as usual, I'm going to go through the project, and this time I've made two projects with one collection. This is the Authentique Jingle collection, and I've made a mini album slash journal. Now I'm going to show you how to make both. And you can use the page styles to make just a mini album if you like, or you could do the combination journal if you like. My thought here was sort of a December daily type album where there's lots of room for journaling and photos and all kinds of stuff. So let's go through the first one, and we'll do the red first. I loved Authentique's collections for creating journals because they have the beautiful vintage images. So I love this girl. And what I've done on the cover, this is actually a fabric cover. So all I do is take a white piece of fabric and I cover my album just like you would if you were covering it in paper. Same process. And I use PVA glue to adhere it. There's several different glues you can use. You can use fabric glue or Mod Podge. And then I painted the cover, and this one I did red, and the other one you saw I did lime green. So here on the spine, I have some charms. These are what holds my signatures in for journaling, so I really like how the charms came out. I even did, I added these little buttons, and we had actually gotten these from my Christmas kit from last year, so I'm reusing those because I had some extras. And then the back is just plain. And on the front, when I attached the card, I glued it on with my art glitter glue, and then I Mod Podged over the entire cover just to keep it, because it is a journal, and so it's going to be handled a lot more. So just to keep it nice. So on the inside, it almost looks like a traditional mini album. So I have the Santa Claus paper here, which I thought was super cute, one of my favorites. And it kind of looks dirty and grungy, and that's on purpose. I love the Santa paper too because it has like handwriting lines. Can you see that? It's very faint. And I thought that would be perfect to write a note of the year and whatever else you want to write. So I didn't put my place photo here stamp in this album because maybe you don't want to place a photo there, maybe you want a journal. So I have either a journal spot or a photo spot cut apart here. This collection didn't come with a sticker set, it came with a punch out set. So this little saying is part of the punch outs. So this opens this way and you have a little pocket, and I have a cut apart. And then a little smaller flat pocket, and then I did a booklet. And I left these blanks again so you can either add photos or do journaling. And then I have two smaller photo opportunities here, and then a 4x6 right here. And again, these are just the punch outs that I added onto cardstock. And then you could put something in this pocket, but I did not. This is my favorite part of the album, so I'm excited to be able to show y'all how to do this. I call it my lattice pocket, even though it's really not a lattice. It's I don't know what else to call it, but it's a belly band. Actually, you can stick whatever you want to back there, and so we're going to learn how to make that in a few minutes. And it's actually the reason I'm having to redo this video. I've done it all the way through one time, but I showed you how to do this wrong, so I was like, well, I can't live with that. So here we are redoing it. So you flip this over, and then I love making these folder style pockets, and then I just have a tag in here, and on the back I will tell you I'm a very lazy journal maker. I don't like to coffee dye paper, but I like the look of that, so I have now I didn't purchase it. I downloaded this free printable from Ephemera's Vintage Garden, and I have printed out the paper and just added it to my signatures. I'll show you that in a second. Cut apart here, photo spot here, and then here you get to the journaling section. I've added some lace to each signature, and you flip this over. Again, another punch out. This paper here is part of a ledger from the 1800s. I work for a bank, and they had given me these to tear apart and so that I could keep the blank pages. Of course, we had to discard the ones with writing on them, which were beautiful. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool, this vintage paper. I did a little stamping here. This is the printed coffee dyed paper. Again, printed. These little guys, I cut them out with my Kiwi Lane templates and I matted them, and then I added that so you could journal on the back of them, that same paper. And then I have just some paper clips that I've added some seam binding to just for interest, and then plain cardstock, again digitally printed paper, stamped a Christmas tree. Here's a little tuck spot. And then I made these envelopes using my envelope punch board. And this is a punch out that I just partially glued down so you could tuck the envelope. It doesn't have anything inside, but you just tuck that right back and it stays closed. And did a cut apart on this side. Again, just paper. This is cute, little cut apart. Printed, little Santa Claus. Again, the other half of that paper from the 1800s. And then that's the end of that signature. Look at this cute paper. Here I have a little flap with a magnet. This is my next mini album type of page. And this opens up. And you have an opportunity for a photo or journaling. A little punch out here. And then here, I love this cut apart. I wanted to use it on the front cover, but I went with the little girls instead. And on the back, I printed out some journaling lines. I thought that was cute. And then this flips one more time, and you have a cut apart and two opportunities for photo. Oops. And then on the back of this one is just a simple pocket. And a cut apart, I've added some seam binding, and again, the next signature. So this one has some lace added to it. And then the same things that were in the other one. A little stamping, some cut aparts from the collection. Again, another one of those journaling spots. Little tuck spot. And it continues. Again, an envelope. And I thought the envelopes were cute. You could stick receipts or whatever you wanted to in there. And that's it. Another tuck spot. And then you have the back cover. So I thought it turned out really cute. I was really happy with it. I am going to have both journals for sale in my Etsy shop, so I'll have a link down below for that. And let's go ahead and run through the green one quickly because it's the same thing, just different pattern paper. Again, I used this girl on the front, and then I did the beads, and then I did different buttons on this one. I have some hearts, there's a bow, and I think that's it. On the inside of this one, I did a pocket, and then I added these. I punched out these scallop circles and added these punch out circles on top. I cut into the Santa and stuck a cut apart there, and then again, here's a cut apart. My light is really being difficult today. Sorry. And then another booklet. So again, laid out the same, decorated differently. You could journal here. And then on the next one, again, the lattice pocket. This time I put a booklet inside. It's just plain to show you that you could tuck something behind there. This opens up. Again, another pocket. I did the same thing with the Santa cut apart again. And then a photo opportunity. And then I added some lace here, a little bit different from the other book. And then the pages, the page types are the same, but the decorative paper and the little decorative punch outs will be different. Again, an envelope. This one has a journaling card inside. And this is all the same. I don't want to bore you guys. You can journal on those. Tuck spots. And then the cute paper. And then here's how I decorated this one. Another photo spot. a cut apart, open again, a couple of photo mats, and then I pieced the paper together here. Photo spot, and then a pocket. Again, I added a little bit different lace here, and we have different pattern papers. Again, I did the tree, cute, all different kinds of little punch outs. I just love how those turned out. Stamping, again, that little ornament. Envelope, nothing inside that one. And this is actually a different pattern paper. I ran out of my paper, so this is a different Authentique collection. But you could just do plain cardstock too if you wanted to. And that's it. Oh, on the back of this one I did something different. I did a stacked pocket. So there's the little girl, a photo mat, and then a larger photo mat back here. And that's it. So let's learn how to make the pages on this one. So hopefully I won't mess it up this time, because I'm a week late getting this out because I filmed this last weekend, and like I said, I messed it up. So let me put all this off to the side. You don't want to see all my notes. Where's my, oh yeah. So I'm going to show you how to add the signatures in, but I'm using a cover that I created for something else. So, but I'm not going to do that until the end of the video in case you just don't care about that. Okay, here's our base page. Now we need to make one base page together. That's what I always do. Let me just get my bearings here and figure out where I put it. Might be helpful to be prepared before I start the video, right? Okay, here we go. Now we're talking. I think this is the first page. So for our base pages, we need 2 pieces. You're going to make 2 base pages. Unless you make a full mini album, then you can make more pages than I did. One of them needs to be cut at 8.5 by 5.5, and the other one 9.5 by 5.5. And on this one, you're going to score on the 9.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. And then I'm going to fold on our score lines and glue it down. And I've already created the other one off camera. This one you're going to attach it first to the very bottom. And this one goes at the top. And I don't know why, but I like to do squigglies with my glue. And I am using art glitter glue. It's the only kind of glue I use in my scrapbooks because I love it. Okay, let's add our first flap. So this one is 5 by 8.5 inches, and then we're going to score on the 5 inch side at 1/2 inch and miter the corners. And then fold on the score line. And we're going to add glue to the inside of the flap. Oops, and I keep missing the paper and getting glue all over myself. And you're just going to tuck this flap on the inside of the pocket for your base page on the right hand side. And I don't think I did my base pages right because they're not cooperating. I don't know why. There. I mean, the measurements were right, so it's just being difficult. Okay, so there's our first flap. And let's add our flap that's going to go on this side. It's going to be cut at 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches. Score on the 3.5 inch side at 1/2 inch. And miter the corners. I like to do that before I fold it. And fold on the score line. Again, add your glue to the inside flap. And tuck it to the inside of the pocket of the base page, inside pocket of the base page. Make sure you get it lined up, but don't go over your score line because that'll make your page not want to close. So now that we have this open, let's go ahead and add our little tiny pocket on the right hand side. This is going to be cut to 2.5 by 5 3/8. Score on the 2.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 5 3/8 of an inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. And then miter your corners and fold. And then when you glue this pocket down, make sure, whoops, that you don't get glue on the inside of the pocket because that is a disaster. So when you glue this pocket down, make sure that you line it up with the right hand, this edge of the page. You want a little gap between your score line and your pocket right here. This ensures that your page folds flat and doesn't, well, it's going to gape open right now because the paper is not trained, but once the paper is trained it will lay flat and this pocket won't get in the way. Okay, so now go ahead and close this flap right here and let's add the pocket to it. You're going to cut 1 to 3 inches by 9.5 inches. Score on the 3 inch side at 1/2 inch, and on the 9.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end, and then miter. And fold. And add your glue. And this is a large side pocket. So you're going to line it up at the bottom or the side of this flap. And the top and the bottom, I guess. So that was correct. Go ahead. Make sure that adheres down well. And this is where I put a little booklet in. And then there's the front of our first page. Now let's go to the back of the page. And this one's a little bit more tricky. First, we're going to add the large flap. This one is cut to 6 inches by 8.5 inches and score on the 6 inch side at 1/2 inch. And then miter your corners. Just get rid of that little piece on the end so that way it goes inside the pocket without a fight. Fold on your score line. Get rid of all my trash here. Add your glue to the inside of the flap and stick it in on the left hand side inside the base page. And make sure that it gets glued down. Okay. Now, before we move on to this belly band thing, I'm going to go ahead and add this pocket. So this one is 5.5 by 7 inches. Score on the 5.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 7 inch side at 1/2 inch. I'm going to put this aside. We're going to miter the corner here. So here you've got my score lines here and here. And I'm going to go ahead and fold on those, because what I'm going to do is take my ruler and my pencil, and from the top I'm going to measure over 2 inches here. So here's the 2-inch mark, and I'm going to make a mark with my pencil. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to do the same on this side, 2 inches. So I have my mark at the top and then on the side. And then there's where my hinges are, right? So I'm going to attach those 2 marks together, draw a line, and this is what I have. And then I'm going to cut this piece off. And this is what makes my folder have that nice angled effect. And then you just erase your little marks here and go ahead and attach it to the flap. Right here. Super easy. Okay, now let's talk about this crazy belly band thing that I've got going on. So, what I do first is I take my ruler and let's see, what is this flap? 5.5 inches. One moment, guys. So the center of it is going to be 2 3/4. So I take my centering ruler and I find the center. So I mark 1/2 inch over from the 0 mark, and then 1/2 inch to the right. So both 1/2 inch from the left and the right of the 0 of the centering mark, okay? And then I'm going to measure on the right hand side. So we've measured 1/2 inch over from the 0, and now I'm going to go 1 inch over and make another mark. No, sorry, my bad. See, this is how this gets confusing. I'm going to go 1/2 inch over and make a mark. And then I'm going to go another inch over and make a mark. Okay? So from the 0, I have 1 inch to the right at 1/2 inch, a mark at 1 inch, and then a mark at 2 inches. Okay? So again, I have my mark at 1/2 inch, and then 1 inch, and 2 inches. So it should look like this. I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. And find my center, measure over 1/2 inch and make a mark. And then on each side. And then I'm going to measure over 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. So 1/2 inch. Okay, does that make sense? Let me bring it up with my ruler in place. So there it is. See my marks? I've got 0 and 1/2 inch over measured on each side, and then 1/2 inch from that, and then 1 inch from that. And that's measuring out where we're going to put our belly bands. I hope that makes sense, because you're going to have 3 pieces. So these are 3 pieces cut at 9.5 by 1 inches. So go ahead and fold. And in my opinion, the easiest way to do this is to already have your belly band pieces matted. So if you don't have your belly band pieces matted yet, skip this step, come back to it, because it's going to be so much easier if you do. So I'm just doing a test page, so it won't really matter if mine are or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this belly band piece in between these 1 inch marks, because this is a 1 inch piece, and that's just going to tell me exactly where I need to put them. So the first one's going to go here, the second one is going to go here, and then the third one will go here, and they'll have a 1/2 inch space in between them. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue those down according to the marks that we made, and this will just make the feature look nice and proportioned and even. Because I'm not very good at doing that on my own. So there's the first one. 1 And here's the second one. And the third. Okay. So now they're nice and even. So I have the 3, and you should have about, I don't know, what, a half an inch or 5/8 of an inch or something on each side? An inch on each side. Okay, so now we're going to take 3 pieces marked at 5 1/8 by 1 inch, and then you're going to score on the 5 1/8 of an inch side at half an inch on each end of each piece. And you're going to fold, and here's what I like to do. I like to stage them, so I like to lay them out. So this one, you have to open this book first and figure out what I'm doing before I mess it up like I did my last video. So it's going to go underneath the middle one and attach to the outside ones like so. Okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing for the one in the middle. And I'm just guessing where the middle is now. I don't really know, because I'm going to be able to move them, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. Hang with me. And this one's going to go inside the middle one, which is what I always forget, and then attach to the outside. So I have about a half an inch space right here on each side, give or take a little bit. And then you're going to take 2 pieces that were not scored, and they were cut at 3 3/4 by 1. And these are actually going to go under here. So it's going to tuck under this one and then under this one and go over the top of the middle one. Like a little, I don't know what to call that. But that's how it works. This is the same. So you're laying these out to get the spacing correct, so you can move them around at this point. And you just want equal spacing between all of them, and it looks like this is about right. It doesn't have to be perfect, but that's what mine looks like. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to add glue to the underside of the flap, okay? And then I'm going to tuck it under and glue it down. This is the easiest way to do this. This is why I prefer that your pieces already be matted. Otherwise, when you're matting these back pieces, it's going to be nearly impossible, because you don't want to have glue on a strip of paper and you're trying to feed it through all of these pieces. It's going to be a huge mess. So I matted mine before I did this. So I've glued this side down. I'm going to do that all the way down. And you can do this in whatever order you feel comfortable with. Okay, there's that one. Make sure this is straight still. And I'm going to get this one. My glue is getting stopped up. Don't clog on me during a video. Okay. Here we go. So the right hand side is glued down. Now I'm going to flip it and then glue down the left hand side, which is now the right hand side. Am I being confusing or what? Okay. Just gluing them down. So it's really not that difficult to create this look, but it just takes a little bit of time. And a little bit of planning ahead, making sure that you mat all of your pieces. Whoops. Ahead of time. Okay, now I'm going to flip it back. So this is my opening. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these pieces that aren't glued down yet. I'm going to add glue to the ends of them like so. And I'm going to glue them down. So this one goes here. This one tucks under here. I'm going to have a little bit of time to wiggle it around, and then I'm just going to secure it. And that's it. Same thing with this one. I'm going to take it out, add a bit of glue to each side. Super easy. I'm going to tuck it under here, and tuck it under here. Make sure you're not gluing the whole thing down to the base page. And there's my lattice belly band. And you can go ahead and slip your hand under it, because I felt mine kind of pull away, so I had glued it down a little bit. And I think that that is really cute. So when you mat it, it's going to look like that. So like I said, I had matted all my bands before I even attached them to the page. Okay, so that's super easy. So let me just open this. So that's it for that first page. So now let's go on to the second page. I already have my base page for this one made right here. And I'm going to first add my large flap. So this one is cut to 6 inches by 8.5. Score on the 6-inch side at 1/2 inch. And miter your corners. And fold. Sorry, I'm a neat freak. I like to clean up my work surface as I go. Add the glue to the inside of the flap. Make sure you don't go over your score line, just go right up next to it. Okay. And then we're going to add our second flap on top of this. This one's cut to 5 inches by 8.5 inches and score on the 5-inch side at 1/2 inch. This one you don't have to miter, so just fold on your score line and add your glue to the outside of the flap this time. And just go ahead and place it directly on top of the first flap, like so. Now, for the next element, we're going to open this up, and we have a pocket on this side. So cut your pocket to 9.5 inches by 3.5 inches. Score on the 3.5 inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 9.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. Miter your corners for this one, and fold. And this is going to be a side pocket. Make sure that you stay away from the score line of the flap when you add this one, or else your flap again will not close properly. I stay, I don't know, about 1/8 of an inch away. That seems to give me enough wiggle room. And I'll show you closer what that looks like. There's mine. It looks like it's almost right up against the score line, but it's not. It's still going to close just fine. Okay, now open this piece up, and let's go ahead and add this pocket. So this, cut one piece, I'm going to set this aside, to 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and score on all 4 sides at 1/2 inch. Now normally I would just put this in my trimmer and cut it diagonally down the middle, but my trimmer's not close, so I'm just going to draw my line and cut it with scissors. So cut it directly down the middle on the diagonal. And this one we don't need. So miter your corner here, and then fold on your score lines, and then go ahead and cut these little extra, I call them wings, off the pocket. Okay. Then we're going to take our base page, open up both flaps, and this is going to go right here on the corner of the pocket. Hence the name corner pocket. Okay. And then we will add our closure. So I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to take a piece that's cut to 5 inches by 2 inches. You're going to score on the 5-inch side at 1/2 inch, and then again at 5/8 of an inch to give you a little bit of a gusset. And I'm going to fold on both of those lines. So it gives me a little bit of a gusset, as you can see there. And I'm going to add my glue right here to the outside of the flap. And I'm just going to find what I think is the middle, and I'm gluing it down to the inside, right here. And then you'll put a magnet on each side to hold that closed. Now that's it for this page, except for on the back we have a small pocket. So this one, cut one pocket to 4 inches by 6.5 inches. Score on the 4-inch side at 1/2 inch, and then on the 6.5 inch side at 1/2 inch on each end. And then miter your corners. And fold. And this one, you're just going to add directly onto the page. And that's it for our pages. And then the next step, I will show you how I added my signatures. This light is driving me nuts. I busted one of my lamps because I was clumsy one day. And now I only have the lamp that doesn't work very well, and it keeps going off. And it's annoying me, so I apologize. So you add this pocket to the bottom, and that's it for our mini album pages. Now, if you want to do, where did that, oh, that came from in here. If you want to do journaling pages, I'll show you how to add that. And again, I'm going to use just an album that I had created in a different setting. Won't be the same size as the one that's the video is for. But I'm just, improvising, because I didn't want to make a whole new cover for no reason. And I have a couple of signatures here. These are just leftovers that I didn't use in my albums. So we're going to add these two to this cover in the same way that I added them to the other covers. I use this wax, and of course I tore off the deal. I don't know why. I use this wax thread because it holds knots better. I actually added my signatures first using some kind of cotton thread, and it ripped, and it made me very angry. So I use this, and I'm just going to take a good length of it. I don't measure, I just take it from the spool. And I'm going to take my first signature, and I'm going to add my thread or my string in between the signature, and then close the book. So here I have a length of the thread, and then the rest of it is still attached. So there's my first signature, and then I'm going to take my second signature and open it up, and I'm going to take this thread that's attached to the spool, and I'm going to come down the spine and back up through the page. Okay, so now the string is thread through both pages. and then I'm going to pull it tight. So see what we have here, and I'm going to cut this off. So now you'll have 2 strings, like so. And your signatures will be inside here. Now these are really thin. There's not enough pages to hold them really, but yours will be thicker. So, and I used 8 pages per signature on in my signatures. So then you just come up here on the spine, and while you're holding these tight, I like to put it underneath the cord, pull them tight, and make a knot. Okay, so it's pulled tight. I'm going to hold it there, and I'm going to make a knot. Okay, and then all I did to add my charms was to add more lengths of cord. Right here I just knotted them on so they would dangle down. And now these are secured in here. Now there's not very many pages like I said here, so they're going to move around a lot. But on mine here, they don't. They will move around some because that's just the nature of this type of binding system. But see, they don't move around much. They're pretty secure. If you wanted to, see, I hid my cord here, but you can add pages underneath this right here if you wanted to. So that's the good thing about this binding system, is you can add more pages. So again, mine, I just knotted it just like I showed you how to do, and then I just added like 2 extra links on top that are knotted of cord, and then I tied my beads onto them. So super easy. So I think that's it for this tutorial. It was super easy project to do, and I hope you like it. I really love making journals. It's one of my favorite things, and I don't really make junk journals because I don't like using junk. I just use scrapbook paper and printed paper, so I don't really call them junk journals like the popular term now. So again, they will be available in my Etsy store if you would like to purchase one, and please visit Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creations on Facebook. I'll share all of my videos there, and there's lots of other designers that share videos. We have a very talented design team, and they have some of them have much better projects than mine. And you can also visit my Facebook page. It's LM's Crafty Creations, and I would love to see any of your projects that you do using my tutorials. And also visit countrycraftcreations.com to purchase this collection. It's Jingle by Authentique, and it's just gorgeous. I really loved working with this collection. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.